contrast again, a campaign firing on all cylinders, and I don't know what the most generous way. I mean, Trump is it's hurricane season. He's a storm. He'll gather more steam at some point and blow back over us. But that moment is not today's news cycle.
Yeah, I mean, look, in 2016, whatever Trump did worked. But it only worked in 2016, and it worked incredibly well. And I think it was he got out voters who were these low propensity voters who tended not to vote, the hidden Trump voter, and he was able to connect with those people. Since then, he's struggled. And I think he truly believes that he can get those people out and that there are enough of them to put him over the top. And I think the lesson that that Harris has really learned from Hillary Clinton in 2016 is you can't take anything for granted, and you have to get out there, and that nothing is a fait accompli. So I do think, and we see her saying that during these speeches, that we just have to get out there. They just have to campaign.
And let's not ignore what's happening on the other side. Kurt Andersen, your tweet got all of my attention this morning. You wrote this: after one nominee dropped out for seeming too elderly, I don't understand how a reporter writes and editors publish a 900-word article about the other nominee's 2-hour talk and its technical problems without mentioning its salient stylistic feature, his, Donald Trump's, continuous slurring.
Yeah, I mean, it surprised me. You know, I mean, it was, I managed to get through half of the, whatever it was last night.
Good on you.
I did my best. At first, I couldn't get in, and that frustrated me as well as pleased me that they were having this tremendous squash. Then I did, and I thought I'd listen, knowing you would call me and I would come on your show. So I woke up this morning, and as I do, read, you know, the New York Times, and I was their straight main news story, almost 1,000 words, about this event, and you know, they talk some about the things they talked about, but the writer clearly knew that wasn't very relevant, that he was saying the same things and rambling and everything, but so it was stylistic. He rambled, he meandered. It was softball questions, there were technical glitches. Yet, this main thing that everybody I know and thousands of people online and elsewhere were talking about is what's with his voice? Mm-hmm. They didn't mention. All they needed is one sentence saying this was a new fact about his seeming elderliness or whatever it was, and then maybe get a comment from the campaign. And they didn't do any of it. And I mean, people say, "Well, are you surprised? It's the Times. It's the Times." And I'm not among the reflexive Times haters in that sense, as so many of my friends are. But like this, once again, I was surprised that they would do this, and I don't get it. You know, but I did listen, and I heard things, for instance, like Trump say to Elon Musk, speaking to labor, as Governor Walz did today. He said, "You know the thing I love that you did? You just walked right in there and said, 'Oh, you're going to go on strike? Good, I'll fire you all.'" Yeah, that's how you, as a candidate trying to lead this new workers' party in America, really get the workers on your side by saying you're going to fire striking workers. It's amazing. So yeah, that was staying on message in a certain sense. That wasn't calling Kamala Harris a name, but it's a message that I don't think is going to play for.
Kurt, let me show you some of what he did say about Vice President Kamala Harris's Time magazine cover.
She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that.
I don't know what the question is to ask of you. So I guess I'll tell you what I thought about. In the Robbie Kaplan depot for E. Jean Carroll, they show him a picture of E. Jean Carroll, and he says, "That's Marla. That's Marla." And his lawyer, I don't know which Alina Habba it was. Maybe it was the Alina Habba. Says, "No. I mean, he didn't know who he was looking at. He didn't know who his wife was. He didn't know who E. Jean Carroll was. He's talking about a cover of Kamala Harris, who he has all sorts of different names for. And again, because of the slurring, which you point out, it's not clear if he can't remember her name or is using derogatory nicknames. And anyone who thinks they know, I don't know how they know, because he's so scattered from reality. But this is calling Vice President Kamala Harris so beautiful and saying she looks like Melania. What is this?
Well, you know, his various flattering physical descriptions of his daughter, his comparisons of this person who is he's in litigation with later, E. Jean Carroll, looks like his wife. This person he's running against President Ford looks like his current wife. It's a new wrinkle in the pathology of Donald Trump that we can, you know, we'll fill textbooks one day. It's bizarre, and he you know, as you say though, it's hard to know, is this an impairment or is this just a different version of getting old? Whatever. Again, it's another reason why it seemed to me relevant to this story, just after a guy left the race for appearing too old, as well as scatterbrain and everything else. Well, this is relevant. No, it was bizarre. So many things, because as Elon Musk promised, it was a real conversation, and it was that. I had a feeling that it was like a conversation he would have with some guy or person at Mar-a-Lago, right? Just going off the cuff, and I think this, and I think that. Look at that picture of time, and just the stream of consciousness with which he probably does have conversations with his sycophants at his club, and he had a sycophant who was not a member of his club, but doing the same thing that I expect the people in Palm Beach do.
So what I think is amazing also, Tim Miller, is that Elon Musk makes things that are technical in nature, and the platform that was so glitchy that Kurt and many others couldn't get in is one of the things he owns. What of the incompetence of all this?
Yeah, well, he's working on that Neuralink, which is the chip that he's going to put in our brains, apparently. And I really hope that the team that's working on the brain chip is not related to the team that can't figure out how to do an audio live stream. Just because it doesn't. I'm not a technical person, but it doesn't seem that hard. We're having a conversation right now. There's not like 30 minutes of static before we come on. You know, you can do it on many different platforms and figured out how to do this. So it is a little bit concerning for the brain chip folks. And you know, and I think it's possible the technical difficulties also led to the slurring, as you said, when you were giving multiple possibilities over there. It might have been a compressed audio issue. Hard to know. But to me, like as a political matter, you know, just kind of listening to you all and like listening to Tim Walz and listening to the clips of Donald Trump grossly compliment Kamala Harris's looks for some and compare her to other first ladies for some reason. I've just come to like this guy, they're flailing. I mean, he has no message. He does not know what to do. And, you know, my colleague Mark Caputo at The Bulwark wrote about this. Remember that press conference last week where he like compared favorably his insurrection to Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech?
Yes.
The strategist, yes. That was just like was that last week or was it 2 days ago? It's hard to
It feels like 11 years ago, but yes, it was last week. Yeah.
But that, according to Caputo's reporting, now, the advisors wanted that to be a small briefing where he talked about how extreme Kamala Harris's agenda is or whatever, just like a typical political thing that you do in a campaign. We're going to have a press call. Our message today is going to be the other candidate is extreme. Here's 3 bullet points. Take 1 or 2 questions and leave. Like that's how a regular campaign works. That's how you do politics. Instead, he gives that rambling talk, you know, and then he goes to Montana and he gives that speech. And during the Montana speech, he has an aside where he complains that Kamala Harris gives the same speech every time. And he's like, Kamala Harris is just on message all the time and just boring. And it's like, no, that's how politics works. And so, you know, he's really self-sabotaging in a lot of ways with all of this, you know, and I think that it is working out to the Harris-Walz team's favor. And you look at that Walz speech, and it's just classic politics. He's playing to the base, the union workers. He's explaining which issues they're aligned on. He's rebutting a criticism that J.D. Vance, a false BS criticism that J.D. Vance has issued on him. He's pushing back on that. You know, wham, bam, that's it. That's a press event. Here we are. And Trump's just not capable of that, you know, at age 78.
It's so interesting that you make the point about the attack on the Harris stump speech. I had the job in 2004 of updating the George W. Bush Trump speech. And we changed two things, the greetings at the top and the thank yous at the bottom. And then I gave them, it was lower tech than today, and I'm lower tech at that. And so when Fox News thought they finally had the gotcha, they got their tape editor in on a weekend and they cut the stump speeches, and oh my God, there were whole paragraphs that were the same. Everybody until Trump did that for every event, Tim Miller.
Yeah, it's called message discipline. It's funny you say that, remembering 2004. I had a friend text me about this about 2012, and they said their job was to write 2 new sentences on top of Mitt Romney's stump speech. You know, it's like, we want to give somebody a little bit of news, so we'll have one piece of rhetoric about whatever the latest news is, and then all the same stuff. Like, that's just
it's
how
8 years later,
politics
things
works.
change. I'm open to that, you know.
Yeah, that's just like how politics works. And it's how you drive a message. It's how people know, you know, what your campaign message is, what your agenda is going to be. And like, Trump just isn't, he's too narcissistic. He's a megalomaniac. He couldn't bring himself to do that. He wants to, you know, vamp and, you know, do these personal attacks and, you know, do on these strange asides. And as Kurt pointed out, he wants to brag about things. So it's like his sycophants can cheer for him, like they're kind of outside at the Mar-a-Lago club on the Lanai, you know, having an Arnold Palmer or whatever. And like, that's just bad politics.